Are you tired of paying cable and satellite companies just to watch your favorite broadcast network shows? Why spend hundreds of dollars a year for cable and satellite only channels when you can watch broadcast television for free with the Clear TV HD digital antenna? All you have to do is plug in Clear TV and let your television instantly receive top-rated network shows, local news and weather, sporting events, and more, all for free. That's right, free digital TV. Thanks to a federal government mandate, all broadcasters are required to transmit a digital TV signal through the airwaves. Clear TV lets you bypass cable and satellite to bring network shows directly to your television so you can enjoy crystal clear local and national free HD TV.
What a novel idea! Let's go, go, go!
In the Gulf of Mexico, we're
Yes, that's right, folks. We spared no expense for that new commercial for Cordkillers. Welcome to the show whose mission is to report intel from the front lines of the cord-cutting revolution so that you can watch what you want, where you want, when you want it, on any device you please. I'm Tom Merritt.
Hey, man, I'm Brian Brushwood, and that, if I'm not mistaken, was the best low-rent advertisement for an antenna I've ever seen. I love the fact that they act like it's a, broadcasters don't want you to know that the government forces them to broadcast. Yes, exactly.
I mean, I was like, wait a minute, federal mandate, that's stretching it. Like, they get a broadcast license from the FCC on purpose. Then I realized, no, it's about the digital broadcast transition where they changed the license terms. It's like, okay, no more analog. You can't broadcast analog TV anymore.
So that was sent into us on the on our email with maybe the hint that is the fact that they're marketing the idea of cutting the cord to grandmothers, maybe an indication that there's a trend. Are we on to something here, Tom?
I don't know. It seems like it's just a way to say, hey, let's take any product that we can find and make it sound like it's better than it is and charge $29.99 or $39.99.
Well, you know what's funny is you get two of them for only $19.99, and then I thought, like, well, I paid like $30 for my Leaf. And then for a second I was like, uh-oh.
That's not a Leaf that you're buying there. Just saying. I haven't tested it.
No, didn't you see, Tom? That guy had cable on a boat. He was on a boat and somehow was watching like free cable. I don't understand it. I got two.
I don't have a boat, but I got free television. And you look at all these channels. I got Das Fuertes de Sopas.
I got the Trinity Broadcasting Network. You got the Benny Hinn.
Jade Daily News. I've got...
All right. I feel like that's all we got. I think it's time to jump in.
Let's get the primary target. So big news that happened like just after last Monday's show. Comcast has said they would like to buy Time Warner Cable, and Time Warner Cable has agreed to engage in them in holy mergimony for $45.2 billion. Combined, they'll have 30 million subscribers across the United States of America, just less than 30% of the entire U.S. Households that have cable. Comcast has said they're actually going to get rid of 3 million homes after the merger so that they stay below 30%. There's no law that says they have to, but there was a policy floated for a while that said you can't have more than 30%. So they want to be good citizens. They're going to play that by those rules. Also, when they bought NBC Universal, they agreed to the FCC to follow the open internet regulations. The ones that were thrown out of court, they still have to follow as a condition of that acquisition. And they say, you know what, we're not going to try to fight that and say Time Warner Cable households don't have to follow that. We're going to say, yeah, the open internet order guidelines are going to apply to all of our ISPs, whether they originally were part of Time Warner Cable or not.
So, man, am I of like 67 different minds about all of this. On the one hand, their point is, look, we're not taking over competition of any cities.
We were both monopolies before.
Yes, exactly.
So we'll both still be monopolies. We won't be eliminating any competition because there wasn't any.
Exactly. Well, and weirdly, that's not like either you're in a town where you have Time Warner and you hate them, or you're in a town where you have Comcast and you hate them. Now we all get to be in the same virtual town hating the same big player. And yes, I understand. I guess the real concern here is by owning a third of the networks or of all the traffic, or the bargaining power is obviously unfair, right? They have an inordinate amount of bargaining power, which I think they already had to begin with. And they recently came out with a statement saying like, look, There's tons of competition out there, and this is what's kind of harrowing for me because I am I'm optimistic, right? I'm a starry-eyed optimist that says I definitely have a lot more choices for broadband now than I did 10 years ago, and I suspect I will continue to have more choices moving forward. And that's unfortunately pretty much what they said in their statement was like, what are you worried about? Now you got Google Fiber, Verizon Fios, you got all these other options. Don't worry about our little old merger.
Hulu and Netflix are competitors to us.
Yes.
And let's be honest. We could have a long conversation about them owning NBC Universal and what that means, the leverage they have over signing carriage contracts with television channels on cable. But the real reason for this acquisition, in my opinion, is the long-term play of getting the ISPs. There are lots of things they can do as far as television goes in the meantime, and those play into the calculations here, I'm sure. But the ultimate end here is we know that things are moving to the internet, and we want to be dominant on consumer internet. So we buy Time Warner Cable because now we own the broadband pipes in 30% of the United States. And I think that's more worrying, even though theoretically there's more competition there than there is in television, because there's not. When you talk about high-speed broadband, you pretty much can't count DSL. You've got AT&T Uverse in the United States. You've got Verizon Fios. And then you have a scattering of stuff here and there. You've got Google Fiber in a 3 or 4 cities.
Handful of markets.
You've got Quest Communicate. You've got a few municipal outlets, and you have the ISPs fighting to shut down the ability for towns to create their own internet and say it should be illegal for a city to actually start its own internet. So what they want is to continue to have a dominant, if not outright monopoly over internet in 30% of the United States.
Yes, that is true and unfortunate, and I'm not a fan of it. However, you got to also factor in, like we've covered the story, that more people are cutting the internet cord, the broadband cord, than are cutting the cable cord. So because there clearly is an alternative, and that we all pay for redundant internet. We all have internet on our mobile devices.
Story too.
What's that?
We also debunked that story as being sort of an exaggeration.
What we got to is that people are eliminating redundant payments for the internet, because a lot of us get the internet on broadband over our phone and then pay for it again in our household, and then also have it at the library or at our work or whatever. I guess what I'm saying is, I'm with you. My gut says everything with you, but by the numbers, it's not as horrific. I can't believe I'm defending this. Let me paint the rosiest picture that we can. First of all, nothing's changed as far as your town. Your town, you're still going to have the same jerk in charge. It's just they're all wearing the same colors now. They part of this agreement, and they talk about this in their statement, is that they are intending to abide by the FCC's suggestions as far as net neutrality, regardless of whether or not those are struck down, because those are up for review, whether or not they're constitutional.
Well, they have to. Comcast has to abide by those guidelines until 2018.
Right. But what they have said is even if that ruling gets struck down, and that's no longer binding.
That doesn't have anything to do with that ruling. Comcast agreed when they bought NBC Universal, we will continue to follow these guidelines no matter what happens.
Right, correct.
So and they have to do that till 2018. They have no choice.
Right, and now they'll do the same thing with Time Warner as well on top of that, right? Which, again, by all measures, that's a good thing for everyone. I think we're all worried about what might come of this, not what looks likely to come from this. Does that make sense?
Well, I think what it is everyone is nervous about giving a powerful institution that has shown no indication that they are willing to allow competition. We'll get to a little bit about what they may or may not be doing to Netflix in the next version, and say, you now have even more leverage and more power. And you're right. We don't know what they'll do with it. And Comcast very wisely is getting out ahead of this and saying, look, we're not going to go in and say, oh, well, we're going to try to fight Time Warner Cable ISPs being subject to the open internet order. We're not going to do several things that we could that are anti-competitive. They understand the position they're in. What this doesn't do is anything to ease the problem of the lack of competition. I don't know that it decreases competition, but you could argue that maybe it has the effect of decreasing, because Time Warner Cable certainly isn't going to move into a Comcast area now. They can't.
Right. Well, but it's not like they were competing to begin with. They were intentionally playing the oligarchy game.
I mean, and you brought up the idea, and again, we debunked this. People are not cutting internet in larger numbers than are cutting cable. What's happening is fewer people are signing up for internet because they're using library or they're using cellular connections than were signing up before, and it's a very small effect. But that said, there is a legitimate possibility that I might be able to, with LTE speeds and LTE advanced speeds, be able to stream some video in my area. And maybe, we'll never know, Time Warner Cable would have, and they were at one point looking into buying Spectrum, moved into a Comcast area and said, okay, great, San Francisco, Time Warner Cable is now going to be a wireless internet provider here. They certainly won't do that. So you're right, Brian. There's nothing definitive that we can point to and go, now Comcast is going to do this that they wouldn't have done before, but it eliminates a whole load of possibilities.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's that. And to be honest, I don't know. I would like to think, and again, this is the ridiculous, hopeless optimist in me, I would like to believe that not only does it eliminate certain possibilities, but in doing so create a greater incentive for disruptive players to enter the game. You know, it's like the stage just gets set.
I think, well, I would argue, I mean, here's let's turn it on its head. What does this merger do to improve consumers' options and choices?
Nothing. I mean,
Comcast argues we're gonna be able to bring better technology because we'll have more resources to invest. We're gonna be able to provide better service.
The exact number that they said was, we anticipate that by merging, we'll be able to save almost $1.5 billion to create a better experience for consumers, to which you say, oh, so consumers will save $1.5 billion, to which they explicitly said, oh no, your bill will be the same, and we don't even think this will decrease the speed at which your bill continues to rise over time.
Right. Comcast Executive VP David Cohen said, the impact on customer bills is always hard to quantify. We're certainly not promising that customer bills are going to go down or even increase less rapidly.
It's great PR. You're doing great, guys. way to go. I mean, I don't even know really what else to say about this outside of it's a bummer that we're in this situation, but I'd like to think that this is the equivalent of the Titanic just got more armaments, and it doesn't matter because it's going down anyway. But I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, I could say, at the very best, nothing will happen. And at the very worst, things are going to get worse for people who have little to no other choice than a cable ISP. Because, I mean, here's the other thing. When you have a larger footprint like this, you can cover up the bad areas better.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, gosh, you know what, we're having real problems in Lubbock right now as Time Warner Cable, we should really do something to improve service there so that we can up the bills. Instead, they can go, yeah, just write off Lubbock. We're making enough because we have 30% of the U.S. It's a low priority. Well, you can let your lesser markets languish. I'm not saying they will. I'm saying that is, again, we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
it's good.
I
There's
will
really
say,
very few scenarios where this improves people's experience.
Yeah, although except for if you're a current Time Warner Cable subscriber, then it does sound like you'll finally get some decent set-top boxes. It sounds like finally you'll get a more Comcast-y experience.
Get less worse set-top boxes.
Well, I mean, yeah, because Time Warner set-top box is utterly Comcast Byzantine, utterly ridiculous. Yeah.
The DirecTV set-top box is the best of the provided set-top boxes I've ever seen. And Dish has a pretty good one as well. We would like to point out before we move on, though, Comcast charges $40 for their basic cable plus HBO. Time Warner Cable charges $30. So expect that to go up. Time Warner Cable.
Oh, you know
fans.
what? Travis in the chat room points out, he says, enjoy your new data caps too, Time Warner customers. And
Comcast
I didn't even think about that.
350 gigabit per second or gigabyte per month data caps. Time Warner Cable likely to get those as well. And that's another thing is Comcast can now say, you know what? Data caps are the thing. And they have more leverage again to fight that. They also have more leverage when they own 30% of the ISPs or the households anyway, to affect our secondary targets topic.
Next segment.
Lots of people have been noticing that Netflix sucks on Verizon and Comcast and Charter ISPs lately. And some people have said, I did a trace route. I can see the box where the slowdown happens. It's throttling. Verizon says we absolutely do not throttle. They told Ars Technica Verizon's broadband internet access services deliver a pristine user experience to our customers at any time of day on every day of the week. They flat out deny any kind of throttling. What most people have come to believe is that it is likely that there is an interconnect between Netflix and these ISPs that is getting congested as the popularity of Netflix increases. What usually happens is something called peering, right? So as a CDN or a tier 2 ISP or somebody starts sending more traffic into an ISP, they add more routers. It costs them a little bit of money. It's not a ridiculously large amount, but it also allows for better service to their customers, and the customers are happy, and they can provide better service to the customers. That's the way it's supposed to work. What has been happening is disputes where somebody like Comcast tried to say, you know what, we're not going to add any more routers. That interconnect is at capacity. That's too bad. Sorry, CDN that carries Netflix. You want to pay for a new router, that's fine. And that has caused some big disputes in the background of things. And likely that's what's happening, because it's happening to not only Netflix, but also Amazon Web Services and some other situations. And folks have noticed that if they use an alternate DNS, which is a way to look up your domain name, or they use what's called a VPN, virtual private network, to access things out without your ISP being able to see it, that you go through different routers, and therefore your service improves because it's not going through that interconnect that's at capacity. So it's negligence, possibly. The other theory here that I've seen a few people say is that Netflix is not actually doing anything to improve service to those ISPs because they want those ISPs to be a part of what's called Open Connect. Netflix goes to ISPs and says, hey, give us an electrical outlet and some space, and we'll plug in some servers that improve Netflix performance to your customers. Netflix may be doing things that are like, you know what, we're just not going to route directly to Verizon so that it does go through an interconnect that's congested, and too bad. If Verizon wants to improve that and help their customers, stop their customers from complaining, they can join our Open Connect program.
I'll tell you what, that is, first of all, the Open Connect program is a good idea in that it volunteers to increase and make better the infrastructure of the ISP for the experience. We've talked about how Netflix takes up to 30% of total internet traffic during peak hours. It's bigger than BitTorrent and all these things. So for Netflix to have any kind of program that basically says, let us get a better Netflix experience for your customers who are buying cable from you so that they can access our Netflix, that's good. And so in that regard, that's all good guy Netflix. On the other hand, I could totally see if you are a dominant player, if you have all the momentum, all the goodwill, all the affection, all the love, it seems to me like this would be a very smart way to just not do anything. Like literally, they're not doing anything bad. They're just intentionally not fixing someone else's problem and putting them in a position where they get with the program and just admit, like, look, you guys aren't gonna. And to be honest, that all this net neutrality stuff really, really favors Netflix in a huge way, because it puts Netflix in the position of saying, like, no, you have to make sure our bits get from from our stuff as quick as possible. I don't know where I'm headed with this, but the point is, I can totally see Netflix being both a good guy and a total dick. That's what I'm trying to say.
JP Morgan analyst Doug Anmuth said he has been talking to Netflix CEO Reed Hastings as well as CFO David Wells, and they told him they don't think cable and telco companies are hampering the company's video streams. Of course, that leaves the idea that the ISPs might negligently be not adding capacity. It also leaves the idea that Netflix might not be doing anything to help deliver the internet to Verizon and Comcast. And frankly, this is all a big problem of the lack of competition at the edge. You don't see people in the middle, in the internal tiers, getting into these fights as often, partly because you just don't see it. It happens behind the scenes. But partly because there is competition. There are other ways around. But it always involves the edge ISPs. When you do see these disputes, they involve a Comcast or a Verizon, because those people know they don't have any competition. And if Netflix service is bad, they can point and say, must be Netflix's problem, and not have the risk that somebody's going to go across the street to another ISP and go, well, wait a minute, my next door neighbor Bob has Google Fiber. His Netflix has improved over the past 3 months, which, by the way, is true. Cox, Cablevision, and Google Fiber have all had faster Netflix speeds over the past 3 months. So it's not just a Netflix problem, potentially. I mean, it's not like, well, Netflix just can't deliver the speed anymore. They can in some conditions, and we don't know what those conditions are, but there's nowhere to turn. If Verizon's Netflix is bad and you're in an area that all you can get is Verizon, well, you're out of luck.
Well, I mean, is that the case? Because if it's a case where, whatever voodoo, Verizon, however they have it configured to get you to Netflix, and let's say it goes through some tunnel that slows something down at some point and you get bad experience, couldn't you theoretically, if you had a fast, high quality VPN, run through those, and then that way you're just going, you're skirting the system all the way together? I mean,
yeah. In fact, Sandvine co-founder Don Bowman in Ars Technica article says if a VPN consistently behaves better than your normal connection for something like Netflix he was talking about, it's proof that there is something along the path that doesn't have enough capacity. He's like, I can't say what it is that doesn't have enough capacity, but there's something there. And so, yeah, I mean, you could take it into your own hands with a VPN, but you're still giving money to Verizon to use a broken system, right? Ideally, you just go to one of the competing ISPs who don't have a problem with Netflix and say, oh, well, I'm going to give my money to them. You don't even have that choice. You've got to pay a VPN and still pay your ISP.
Yeah, I guess the only reason I bring up the VPN thing is because part of what we're starting to see is this consumer activism as consumers become educated with the tools to diagnose these kind of problems. And again, whether it's intentional throttling or throttling by default via negligence, the ability to be able to test for these things is, I think, that's what I want our listeners to know to try, I guess, basically.
It's the only pressure you have to bear is to go and report your speeds at various places, and there's a bunch out there that are starting to be spotlight shiners, or take matters into your own hands and pay a little extra to be able to use the connection you're already paying for. Sad but true, but you can do it.
Yeah. I don't have anything else to say about that, Tom.
Well, let's take a break then and thank someone for making the show possible.
I don't want to thank one person. I don't want to thank someone.
Well, let's thank two people.
I want to. Now, two's better. Two's better. If I could, I'd thank two people. Still not enough.
Yeah. Well, what do you? Give me an exponent.
How many zeros you got in you?
I got all the zeros you need.
Okay. Well, then in that case, I want to thank 1,372 of our patrons who are making it possible for us to do Cordkillers pretty much on time, every time. We are vastly increasing so many of the capabilities of the show, and it's all because of you guys. Before the month is over, Tom and I are going to record another insider State of the Cordkillers address, because you guys are our bosses. You are our producers, which means we get online. We talk to you about exactly what all our download numbers are. We talk to you about our plans. We are about to announce... Is it safe to say we have a secret deal?
We could say we almost have a secret deal.
We almost have a secret deal.
We don't have one yet.
And
so we're like this close to a secret.
I'm going to say we'll probably record a video later this week, and that's for our $5 or more subscribers. Thank you, guys. Hopefully, we're saving you a ton of money on cable bills, and we don't mind taking a little kickback from that, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, usually what happens, for those who don't know, because we know not everybody can back, Brian stands in the middle during the address, and I stand right behind him, and I say, I used to be on the edge of the field.
Now I'm 3 feet away.
Just a heartbeat away.
Man, that's a little tease for spoiler in time coming up here. We're going to talk about House of Cards. I've watched the first 4 episodes. Tom watched the first 6. We'll talk about that in a bit.
Let's do some signals intelligence.
Yeah, I agree. Let's do that.
And Brian's right. We are going to talk about some House of Cards a little later on. But there's more Orange is the New Black. There's more Clone Wars coming, all to Netflix. Netflix is going to premiere the final season of Clone Wars animated Star Wars show March 7th. If you are a Clone Wars fan, you're going to have to get Netflix. It's another reason to get it and figure out that VPN and that DNS, open DNS provider, whatever you're going to do. Now, also, Orange is the New Black. It will have its next season out June 6th.
All right, so on the Clone Wars things, that strikes me as a little bit odd. I know that Clone Wars was a fairly popular series. Do you think that the Clone Wars going to Netflix only has anything at all to do with the Disney acquisition? Because we've already seen special arrangements for on the Marvel side of the Disney empire with those 4 series that are coming out, next year or two. Do you think that that's what we're seeing with the Clone Wars?
Yeah, I would think. I mean, I don't think it's anything conspiracy like Disney yanked it away and gave Netflix a deal. I think Netflix paid for the privilege, but I think the fact that Netflix is doing deals with Marvel, doing deals with Disney, made it easy for them to go, hey, what about Clone Wars? Can we get in on that action? And Disney said, well, all right, sure. You know, we've got that deal starting in 2016. You've got some Marvel originals. You guys want to run Clone Wars for the last time? And maybe it just wasn't making enough money for somebody else. And Netflix is always willing to pay a little extra when they think it's worth it.
Yeah, man. Well, then that makes sense. By the way, I'm looking over my shoulder. If I sound distracted, it's because it looks like we just heard back from Derek, who was under the impression that he was on tomorrow. So we're going to see if we can get him on the line here real quick.
Oh,
if not,
crap.
then that'll be fine.
Derek Hughes was going to join us, yeah, and we weren't able to. We assumed he was just enjoying too much President's Day cheer.
He's like, hey, man, I don't know about you guys, but I honor our fallen presidents. I sit and meditate and think about George Washington.
The ones that are alive, I could give a crap about.
No, it's the fallen ones.
Those are the ones. Yeah, so Orange is the New Black, June 6th. Let's gear up, shall we? Now I have James K. Polk by They Might Be Giants running through my head. Couple of interesting studies out about smart TVs and connected TVs. 2 different things. Smart TV usually defined as here's a television with an internet connection and some apps that run right there on the television. Connected TVs include smart TVs, but if you've got a Roku box or even a game console connected to your television and connected to the internet, and if you don't have your Roku connected to the internet, you're definitely doing it wrong. Then you have a connected TV because you can get internet content on your television. 63% of all U.S. broadband households now have a television connected to the internet, according to a new report from the Diffusion Group. That's up from 53% last year. Nielsen said that Americans now own 4 digital devices on average and spend roughly 60 hours per week consuming content across multiple screens, and HD TVs are the most popular digital devices, now present in 83% of American households.
All right, these are astonishing numbers in all different directions. First of all, 60 hours a week. If you're a startup entrepreneur, if you're starting your own business and you're bragging about how you're working, not the traditional 40, but 60 hours a week, you, my friend, pale in comparison to the average American viewing of video on all devices. That's amazing. Second of all, over 60% you said of smart TVs were connected to the internet. Is that right? Or of all televisions?
63% of all U.S. broadband households now have a TV connected to the internet. Either it's a smart TV or it's a television with a Roku-type device or an Xbox. Or
okay, all right. Then in that case, that makes sense. So, like, my Xbox counts as a television connected to the internet.
You now have a connected TV. Well, unless your Xbox isn't connected to the internet. But,
no, well, it is, yeah. So,
yeah, most people's are. In fact, a near majority of U.S. households now own DVRs. That might surprise some people. 51% of the U.S. does not have a DVR.
I don't have a DVR. I was early on the DVR revolution, but then, DVR is sort of your, your butler to your cable experience. It's your concierge that is for a whole class of thing I don't want to have anything to do with anymore.
Well, what about over the air?
Okay, that's fine. It's still like if I could, I would give up the increased fidelity of over the air signals for the convenience of just letting me get anything, instantly on whatever device.
There's also this idea of gaming consoles in 46% of U.S. households. So that's near to half as well. We talk a lot about the gaming console sort of being the entree box and how Microsoft has really been pushing that as like, hey, the Xbox isn't just for gaming. You have television on it. 46% of the households, if you've got your app on the Xbox, well, you're not in all 46% because they might have a PS4 or a Wii, but that's a lot of households with game consoles that almost all of them have an internet connection or at least are capable of one.
Yeah. Dude, I'll tell you, man, it's really weird. Once you get over 60, 80% or whatever, you enter this ridiculous long tail of diminishing returns over time. Like there's a certain group of people that will never have the internet or will never give up their AOL dial-up or will never change anything at all. So the mere fact, to me, it seems like once you get past the 2/3 mark, you're in remarkable ubiquitous territory. Is that what your gut says?
Well, yeah. I mean, it seems like that's when pretty much everyone also has that thing, whatever it is.
Exactly.
And the fact that 63% of U.S. broadband households have a TV connected, now we're just waiting for somebody to do it well. And honestly, I think what it is we still want the one box, right? Now people have multiple boxes. They might have a game console, but also a Roku. Or they might have a smart TV and a game console. Or they might have a dumb TV, but they got an Apple TV. Nobody has the same thing, and no thing does everything. I tell you the thing that will convince my wife to get rid of DirecTV is not the fact that I can point out like we've used it for one show a week for 2 weeks.
Right.
It's the fact that I can say this is the thing you can now use to watch television.
Yes.
Instead of like, well, we have a Mac Mini hooked up and we have an Apple TV and that thing is over on the Roku, but this one you're going to need the Xbox for. That's too much thinking. When you want to watch TV, you don't want to think.
Yeah. By definition, if you're turning on the TV, you're turning off your brain, right?
That's what people want it for. They want to relax and take their mind off.
And by the way, Perfect Face for Radio in the chat nailed it. The DVR is the cable consigliere.
Consigliere. Hey, why don't you watch some House Hunters? I recorded it for you. TiVo, especially when it does the suggested recordings.
Like, and that was kind of a magic time in the TV land where it would actually kind of read your mind, similar to what we get from the Netflix predictions now, where it says, we think you'll like this to the tune of 4.25 stars or whatever.
Well, we should take a break then and tell people about what Doghouse is up to, huh?
Oh, my God. Yeah, talking about this quest for the Holy Grail. Our friends over at Doghouse Systems, we've talked about this before. We're trying to create a Cordkillers branded I guess living room device, a simple media PC that does everything that you guys want it to do. Now, here's the trick. If we're going to promise that we're going to help create a thing that does what you want it to do, then you guys have to tell us what you want it to do. Do you want it to run XBMC? You want it to be able to access, Hulu? You want a novel remote control or whatever? All of that stuff. I don't know where it is. You'll have to search the web for it, but we're having a discussion for it in a Google Plus group. What's the best way to find that, Tom, you think?
You always ask me that.
That's right. So find it. That's what I say. Just search for Doghouse Systems Cordkillers, and I'm sure you'll see it. It shows up here. In fact, right now, Zach's...
if you go to Google Plus and you write Cordkillers, don't write it. It'll just be on the screen forever. Type it into the search box, and Cordkillers comes up right away.
There we go. Zach's already found it.
Killers.
So if Zach can find it, you can find it too. But in the meantime, understand, Doghouse, they're the folks we have 2 computers right now that run all of Cordkillers. One of them does the switching. The other one does the streaming and recording. They're both Armor class systems, and we got a couple of codes. If you want to get a new computer, first of all, I love the stuff that Doghouse is doing. They make good systems. You could get double your memory by using promo code Cordkillers, or if you use promo code SHWOOD, SHWOOD at checkout, whatever it is, I will send you $100 of scam cash that you can spend on scamstuff.com. And I believe, if I'm seeing Zach's gestures correctly, that we're about to get Derek right here on the line.
Is that true?
I don't know. We're waiting patiently. Wait for it. Hey, there we go. We got Derek Hughes on the line. Let's see if we can get him in the 3-shot there, Zach. Perfect. Hey, man, how's it going?
Oh, look, there you are. Thank you for joining us, Derek.
Hey, no problem.
Happy President's Day.
Yeah, happy President's Day to you, too. Apologies. I thought I had more time. I didn't realize that you guys do it, during
President's Days?
Yes, during holidays.
Yeah, that's how we look, man. The cord-cutting revolution doesn't sit around and wait for you to meditate on how great Millard Fillmore was.
I was too busy out having radioactive sushi, so then I got the email and I was like, oh wait, I gotta go now.
Well, we're glad to have you.
We could have just rescheduled, but I appreciate you scrambling and getting on for us. I really do.
Oh, no problem. I'm fan of the show, and we exchanged some messages, and thank you for inviting me. After coming off of a nerd weekend, I was at Gallifrey 1 all weekend.
Oh man, I never made it down there. Was it awesome?
Who won?
Yeah, I was getting updates from Patrick Delahanty talking with photos of all the cosplayers at Gallifrey 1.
Oh, there were some pretty good ones too.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
So if,
what's
folks
the
don't know-
topic of the day? I wonder. Could it be something that has to rhyme with Schmomcast?
You're darn right. That's for dang sure. We talked a lot about that, and I tried to put a less draconian spin on everything. But now we're about to jump into what, under surveillance?
Yes.
Ooh.
Well, then let's go under surveillance.
Well, I'm sure it's like there's somebody probably monitoring us right now.
There they are. It's monitoring us
They are. It's
while
true.
we watch. So yeah, Star Wars Episode 7 begins shooting in mid-May, according to HitFix, and will shoot, I guess, through September. The script is apparently done. R2-D2 is the only confirmed participant, as far as we know. But there's all kinds of rumors about all kinds of other people being approached, like Gary Oldman, Zac Efron, Michael B. Jordan. But it's
I'm
happening.
hoping for Bib Fortuna. He's going to have a comeback.
Yeah, a sota balota. That's the one line I remember from Bib Fortuna. A sota
Bib
balota.
Fortuna and Salacious Crumb should have their own spin-off.
Oh my God! Why has nobody made a YouTube series about Bib Fortuna and Salacious Crumb? That would be amazing.
I want to see. Okay, so I imagine that all the rumors about Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill are that, like, we'll find out what they've been up to, and it'll be like, while the main characters are doing their thing, they'll run across them. That would be amazing if they just run across Bib Fortuna and Salacious Crumb, like on the road hitchhiking or something.
Or they're criminal investigators. That's always a hit, right? So it will be
that's
Bib
the Buddy
Fortuna
Cop
and
spinoff. That's perfect. You're right.
investigating the death of a sand person, right? It's like, and he's got the shades, puts on the shades.
Amazing. Are you excited? Do you believe, like, one of the things we deal with, Derek, or that I deal with, is everyone's like, oh man, Star Wars bought by Disney, it's ruined. And I say to people all the time, Disney bought Marvel and we got the Avengers. Not only did we get the Avengers, we got everything leading up to the Avengers. It is in every way the best the Marvel universe has ever been represented in any video medium ever. Full stop. And so, like, to me, as long as they bring half that to Star Wars, they could get me back on board.
And I think they will. I mean, that's the thing. It's not like they're operating in a vacuum. They know what they're doing. And look, you can never please anybody, and especially in the genre and the field that we so love. You can't 100% of the audience will never be pleased. So. I'm curious to see what happens. I definitely will be in line. I'm one of those guys that, can bitch and complain about everything like, Batman, Wonder Woman. I'm in line. I'm going to see it. They got my money until they don't. So yeah, it's going to be a new generation of fans. And
man, this is like the most politically neutral. Like, wait, am I watching House of Cards? Are you trying to talk without saying anything? What is going on here? Are you in or are you out?
Oh no, I'm definitely in. It's like, but the thing is that you get into these endless discussions, and at the end of the day, it's like until something actually comes out other than just speculation, then I'll be able to formulate a better opinion. Right now, I'm just excited everybody else to see stuff that's going to be on the screen and see what happens. I was there when I was standing in line at midnight for Phantom Menace, hoping and praying like, yeah, this is going to be awesome. And
what's funny is, like, you didn't even have to really hope. You just knew it was going to be awesome. And then it was over and you're like, was that awesome?
Yeah.
Yeah, it took me, as I've mentioned before in the show, it took me 3 times seeing it before I finally admitted.
I don't know if I've ever mentioned it on this show, but I stood in line with Ernie Klein, author of Ready Player One.
Player One.
Yeah, and we because we've been friends for years, and we watched it, and in this little online forum the next day, or he went and watched it a second time, and then he was the first of all my friends to tell the truth. He's like, I'm sorry, but it was brief islands of awesome in giant seas of suck. And I was like, oh, you're so right.
Yeah. I remember even going back before that. I remember when they were going to do the first trailer at midnight It was attached with, I think it was the Denzel Washington, Bruce Willis movie, The Siege, right?
Oh, sure. To watch the preview, right?
To watch the trailer.
See,
yes.
I went and watched Meet Joe Black just so I could watch the trailer at the end of
I
it.
stood in line at midnight. It was in Westwood at the Westwood Village at the Fox Theater, and we stood in line waiting for a movie that we had no desire to watch, but we sat through it because they showed the trailer at the beginning, and then they promised they were going to show the trailer at the end of the movie. So we sat through watching
just to make people watch the movie.
Washington is a movie that we really could care less about, just so that we could see the trailer again.
So December 18th, 2015, Derek Hughes, you're in line to see this.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, next summer there's so much stuff that's coming out next summer. It's going to be nerdplosion, as I call it.
Well, even then, it's a little bit diffusing right now. There was a brief time that it looked like everything was coming out in 2015. You had the Star Wars movie during the summer, allegedly now moved to the winter. You had the Justice League movie, the Avengers movie. You had I guess Superman versus Batman is on track for 2015. Is that right?
Well, no, I think it's been pushed to 2016 now.
Okay, right, exactly. But that's just it, is all of them start to move away from it, which makes sense. But like for that brief moment, because we do the summer movie draft, we were thinking like, this is going to be an unprecedented movie draft. And then they're like, no, it's just going to be a very good regular movie draft.
I know. It was like the summer of '82.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tron,
absolutely.
Con, Flan.
That Flan movie was one of my faves. All right, let's get into the front lines. Derek, the way we do this, we have some other stories we want to get to real quickly, so we give ourselves 60 seconds to discuss each story. One of us will kick it off, and then if we get really into it, we can do each one of us can do a 60-second extension. Are you game?
Okay.
All right, so if you hear something you like, say, shut up, I want to talk for a minute, and then we'll give you exactly a minute. Let's go ahead and throw that clock on there, Zach. First,
there's an actual plot. This is kind of pressure. I wasn't ready for this.
We had the intro, too.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, look at that. All right, hey, guys, it's a battle royale, and we have a date set, April 22nd, pay-per-view event. You could see the Supreme Court actually hear broadcasters' arguments against Aereo.
Well, they don't allow cameras into the Supreme Court, but you can hear people write about.
That's good enough for me. All I'm saying is that
can people tweet?
Yes, you will hear the chatter. The Twitter will be all around you as people respond to it. I think this is great. I think if you're gonna bet money, Tom and Derek, what would you say? Aereo up, Aereo down?
I will be the first to admit I'm not entirely caught up on the whole Aereo situation. So
you say you're selling popcorn the whole time. You don't care who wins.
But it's government and it's broadcast, so I'm going to say who benefits the most out of this? Aereo down?
Tom, quick.
I think that the libertarian perspective wins Aereo.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
All right, on to the next topic. Apple reportedly planning a set-top box with content from Time Warner Cable. Instead of an actual television, they'll come up with an improved Apple TV set-top box, faster processor, all that sort of thing, maybe a new interface, and Time Warner Cable, or Comcast eventually, would have an app on there that would allow you to access their content without having to have another set-top box or a tech visit your home.
So here's the little gem buried in that article, like near the end of the article that says like, oh, also in order to work with the cable providers, little thing, for the first 3 days, you won't be able to fast forward through commercials on the DVR. Just minor thing.
Just a little thing.
Programs available. You just can't skip commercials or fast forward at all really for 3 days. Does that bother you? Or are you down with that, Derek?
It's like already on demand. Like when you try to catch up on a TV show, there's already commercials and they always say, well, you can't forward through it, so you got to sit through a couple of commercials, and so you're already getting, viewers are getting conditioned to that. I think it's always that fine, delicate balance of like how many commercials are crammed into a show, unlike on network television where it's, every 10 minutes is commercial that are sort of breaking up the story. So it's hard to say. I think in this situation though, we're talking about the whole Time Warner Comcast. What's going to happen there first, I think, will affect what's going to happen with this Apple set-top box.
Yeah, it delays it again, right? Because Time Warner for something goes, well, we got to wait and see about the merger, so we can't really enter into any new deals right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can totally see all of that. But then there's also like 9 seconds left to fill with dead air.
Yeah, you just go on.
All right, I'm going to move on to the next one here. The Olympics. Hey, man, you like the Olympics? You liked watching the Olympics for free on your broadcast NBC setup? Well, guess what?
I like the fact that I pay $30 to Time Warner Cable for HBO and basic channels, but then I can log in, right, and watch the Olympics online because I'm paying for cable.
Not so much. Not so much. Turns out that you bought the wrong package, Tom. Look, we just need to get you on the system. We need to get you on the Premier package, and then you can have all that stuff.
But I'm paying, Brian. I'm paying.
Yeah, but you're not paying for you're paying wrong? That's what I'm trying to say. You're paying wrong. So do me a favor, pay right, and then you can watch the Sochi Olympics. Otherwise, you're just like one of those damn dirty cord killers.
Yeah. Essentially, that's what they're saying. Yeah, you're not paying for CNBC and MSNBC. So if you want to watch the Olympics online in the United States, you have to be paying for the NBC cable channels, not for the broadcast.
And this is only a peek into what could possibly happen if Time Warner gets bought out by Comcast. That we'll see more of these situations happening.
I don't know. I got to believe that there'll be some kind of response against it. Go ahead, Tom.
Freddie Wong's Video Game High School is entering season 3. If you don't know, it's a show mostly seen on YouTube, but he puts it out all over the place. That it follows the adventures of people in a high school for professional video game players in a purported future. They're trying to raise $750,000. They got 5 days left. They've only raised $479,000, but they're doing it on Indiegogo, not Kickstarter, and they're doing it in a way that lets them keep whatever they raise.
Yeah, that's very smart.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you what, that's some like unprecedented success. And, there's talk, one of the things he says is that this is the final season as it is right now. He sort of left it open as to whether or not there could be another incarnation, maybe even a mainstream media kind of incarnation of Video Game High School. But for this iteration of a crowdfunded, YouTube-distributed platform, this is the last time he plans to do it.
Yeah, so if you like Video Game High School, you might want to check that out. If you want to make sure you see, they're going to do a third season either way.
Yeah, exactly. HBO lands David Fincher and Gillian Flynn's Utopia series. Now, Gillian Flynn is the author of Gone Girl, and I know that they just did it was an HBO project, right, Tom?
Well, the movie isn't out yet, Gone Girl, but that's coming, and these guys are teaming up again to do a remake of a British series. Fincher's done that before, except Netflix won that bid, so HBO's got to be feeling pretty good that they won this one this time.
I'll tell you what, man. I'll tell you who the real winners were last time Fincher took a British import, and it was you, me, and Derek. Derek, have you been watching House of Cards?
Yeah, I've actually I've only 3 episodes into the second season, but holy crap.
All right, good. Then congratulations, you made the cut. You get to be in on spoiler in time this time.
Yeah, but I've heard that the entire season is pretty balls to the wall crazy.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll talk about that here in a bit. What else you got, Tom?
Amazon accidentally put up a page in their Canadian site for a short period of time showing an Xbox One media remote available coming in March. So if you are enjoying the media center aspects of Xbox, but you don't want to control it with your voice, and you don't want to control it with your hand, and you don't want to control it with that wonky controller, because that's not good, you'll be able to spend way too much money, like $30 Canadian, to buy a remote.
So are you still liking your Xbox One media TV watching experience, or do you not use it anymore?
That's how I watch Netflix now, and Amazon, both regularly, because it's already on the same input as my television. So it's just, I don't even have to touch anything. I actually use the voice controls, and they've been getting better, it seems like.
Do you use the pass-through for your cable, for your DirecTV watching?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. The TV just comes right in as an app, and so I'm watching TV, and I want to watch Netflix. I just go, hey, Xbox, watch Netflix, and it switches me over to that Netflix app like that.
Right on. What about you, Derek? You have an Xbox?
No, actually, a funny story. Last year, actually at the end of December 2012, my writing partner and I, we were hired to do some consulting on an upcoming Xbox game. So I went out and bought an Xbox because I have a PS3, and I went out and bought it. But then I sat it next to my TV, and I never opened it. And then I started using it as my little TV stand, and I would just put my laptop on it while I was watching TV. and it's like, because we got so busy with not only with the game, but then we went back to Warehouse 13, and we were working on that, and I just knew that it was going to be a huge time suck if I started playing games on it, but then after a while, it became sort of like just my go-to TV stand, where every now and then I look at it and go, oh yeah, there's an Xbox in there. And then finally, like back in October of last year, I just finally gave it to my little brother. I was like, here, happy birthday.
Happy birthday for this outdated system. Peace out.
It was the Xbox Slim, so he was very happy with it because it had like over 300 megs on it, or much more stuff that he can cram onto it. And then I was going to get the Xbox One. My best friend, he loves it. It's pretty amazing. But again, I think for me though, it's just sort of like, what am I going to really do with it at this point that I don't already use my PS3 for, which is to watch movies and TV more than play games. So I'll probably at some point get it, but not yet.
Right on.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to skip right past what's on our radar, because the only thing coming out this week that the audience may care about much is Pompeii. So let's talk about what's on screen, shall we?
Yeah.
That's a fancy graphics there. Look at that.
Better all the time.
Actual real VCR.
That's right. We spared no expense.
This is how we watch all of our cord cutting shows.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's on videotape. So, yeah, we've all been watching House of Cards. We're going to do a special edition of Spoiler in Time afterwards so we can speak freely. Because honestly, there's really not much to say if you can't speak freely about the events of the season, except for me to say I think I'm enjoying it more than I enjoyed season 1.
Yeah, I will say this as far as the enjoyment level. And you'll hear the specifics in Spoiler in Time. By and large, man, House of Cards is nailing it. They're killing it. I think they did exactly what they need to do for the second season. They have introduced a thread that is technically, I don't think this is spoilery. I'll dance around it.
All right.
There is a hacking thread in this, right? And one thing that House of Cards has always done very well is represent the realistic use of technology. And in the hacking thread, they are going to places that are technically correct, that are technically accurate, but sound a little more fantastic than you would expect from a political drama to get to. So it almost feels sci-fi-ish at times. Would you say that's right?
Maybe techno-thriller type of sci-fi. I can sort of see what you're talking about, like a little cyberpunkish.
Yeah. It's just a new, it's just a space I didn't expect it to go. And I oftentimes I get totally lost in it, but when they get to that aspect, I feel some part of my brain keeps jumping out and pointing out like, wow, this is House of Cards and this is what we're watching. So again, whether it's good or bad, I still have to finish the series and we'll find out.
One of the things that I really liked early on is just the way the text, they use the texting in it. They did that in the first season. They also done it on Sherlock. But here, for some reason, whatever reason, it seems like that it was much more seamless. Of like, it felt like it was actually a part of the scene, rather than something that was added on to help the scene. It was really interesting for me, the response that it got from me from that.
I'm sure we'll talk about it some more, but
yeah, I've noticed that too, and I feel like it's more. I think you nailed it. It's part of the scene where it's almost like they shot it and said, "Okay, just look at your text message," rather than, "Okay, let's leave some space to make sure people can read it." Like if the rhythm of it feels like the kind of rhythm you would have when you're like, "Hold on, I gotta look at this." You know?
I will say there's one thing I truly appreciated was every time they show a phone number, they never ever show that 555? Stupid 555 prefix. It's like a loud blinking neon scream saying you're watching a work of fiction, and we have to shout that by putting 555 in the number.
Sure.
Yeah. Cabletown always did the same thing for me on 30 Rock. Just took me right out of the reality of it.
Oh, okay. All right. I will say this. I'm continuing to watch Don't Trust Andrew Main. I believe there's only 2 more weeks of episodes coming out on A&E. It's been moved to 11 o'clock Eastern, and they're still doing 2 episodes in an hour-long block. I'm as much as I love the show and I love Andrew, I'm sad that as a viewer, I sort of have sniffed out the formula now, where it's like you start to notice that the beats are coming up. You're like, oh, this is going to be the fake out, and then they're going to go to commercial. Yeah, and then now there's going to do this forced perspective shot or whatever. So I really look forward to if/win/hope there's a season 2 of them immediately turning all that on my ear. And also, Tom, we didn't get a chance to say it on the show. We talked about in the after show. All of Cordkillers is a lie. The future is cable television, and I'm subscribing to cable because it's the only way I could see my new favorite show for a 1-hour special on National Geographic Channel on February 27th, Hacking the System, starring that sassy guy from the internet, Mr. Brian Brushwood.
So you're just gonna watch yourself for a day and then cancel cable?
Yes. No, actually, you know what? Truthfully, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to subscribe to cable, watch myself, have I'm going to say these words, and it's going to feel real good, and I'm going to look like such an asshat. I'm going to watch myself on my hour-long primetime television special, which is a real phrase I just said, and then I'll probably hang around to watch HBO because Game of Thrones is coming back, and then I'll be out.
I just had this conversation with a friend today where she was debating whether or not to cancel her cable because she's been watching everything online and stuff. And she said, well, how am I going to watch HBO, Game of Thrones? And then we were like, well, the one thing you do is you can keep your HBO subscription, watch Game of Thrones, and then when it's over, cancel it until you need to watch something again. Or isn't HBO Go now available and you don't have to have HBO? Or
No. Like they've got some
in the Nordic countries.
Yes, so and they also have some like super cheap cable things that is essentially like the cheapest you can get to just HBO Go. And like HBO Go, my parents have said like, what's HBO Go? And after HBO has like explicitly said, we don't care if you are on your parents' password. Like that makes it a little bit more difficult, but I think I am going to go ahead and get cable just so I can talk about the experience.
Well, then I'll cancel it.
Okay.
I've been watching Downton Abbey, still enjoying Downton Abbey. Not much else to say other than it's very Downton Abbey. And you know what? I think I've become a huge fan of the Graham Norton show. I've always liked it. But he's just killing it, getting better guests all the time. I think on BBC America this week he's got Bill Murray and Matt Damon on to talk about Monuments Men.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's just it's probably I think one of the most funny and relaxed talk shows I've ever seen.
It is enjoyable, and I discovered it after watching episodes of Doctor Who. It was like all of a sudden,
because it was a great lead
exactly. Right after it. I was like, what is this show? And I started watching it. I was like, this is actually pretty fun.
Derek, before we move off this to some emails, have you been watching anything particular you want to let folks know about?
Well, if anybody hasn't been talking about it already, True Detective.
Oh, yeah. I've heard.
I have not
been watching it, but I've heard amazing things.
I mean, and to be honest, Tom, do me a favor. Let's both of us watch it at the same time so we can break that down. I assume they're about, mid-season right now?
I think they have maybe 3 more episodes to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be our next week or two. We'll both dive in.
Read online today about how President Obama wanted to watch the last remaining episodes of True Detective as well as Game of Thrones, and actually, talk to the president of HBO, and they hooked him up. So
what?
It's good to be the president, apparently.
The president of HBO said, "Here's my login. Just watch it on HBO Go."
Yeah, here's Game of Thrones a month early.
Oh, that's ridiculous. That's crazy talk. All right, let's get some dispatches from the front, shall we?
Yeah, dang right we will.
All right then, we will. That's what's going to happen. Got this, Tom Merritt and Brian Brushwood. I found this while working on another project today, and that thought would be an interesting tool for the Cordkillers out there. It lets you use your existing coax cable for all sorts of other things. I think manufacturers suggested retail price is about $60, but you need a pair of them to get started. It's a way to hook your coax cable into your Ethernet modem on your internet. If you don't have cable, it essentially turns it into a network. Your house is already networked. get Ethernet in every part of your house.
Wait, now how good is that? Because like I know that we've seen stuff that goes over the electrical lines that allegedly does that, or that there's individual like radio-based units that do all that stuff. Does this one work? Is this the holy grail?
I haven't tried it, but it would theoretically work better because there's no competing signal. Now, it will work if you have cable on there, it says as well. I can't imagine that's going to work as well, but maybe it does. However, if you've got the dead cable in your house already, there's nothing going to be competing for it.
All right, we also got a letter from Jay Shell saying that the story that they did on cord cutting in which city was this again? It was in Toledo, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Toledo is live right now. If you go to ToledoNewsNow.com, and if you the title of the article is "No Cable, No Satellite, No Problem," and I still haven't seen it yet. Did you watch it, Tom?
Yeah, I did. It's funny. They made sure to use the quote where I said that you can continue to watch the guy who did the interview over the air using an antenna. But Jay is one of our audience members, and he's the guy who was the engineer. He got in there, too. They used a quote from him as well. And he said, on a personal note, my DirecTV bill went up this month, so I called and complained. I ended up lowering my package, getting an additional $10 a month off my bill, and getting a free DVR upgrade to the Genie with Genie Go. So well done, Jay.
Nicely
and
done,
thanks again,
man.
Jay, for hooking us up with that interview. That was amazing.
The chicken challenge, yeah. Let's see. We also got
Alex K.
Yeah, talk to me about
this.
this.
And said, "Hey guys, love your show. Glad you found a way to continue. Now to an omission that's been bugging me for some time. Here we go. You guys have discussed the wonders of streaming by Chromecast and AirPlay as separate choices for the Cordkiller. However, I found a way to do both on one piece of hardware. I have a Vizio CoStar running an app called Airtight. The CoStar has recently been updated to support Chromecast-like streaming, and Airtight provides old-style AirPlay connectivity, no mirroring. So for under $100, you can have both without having to switch inputs. Plus, the CoStar has lots of other capabilities, Netflix, MGO, Vudu, and web surfing. Anyhow, I love my CoStar, and I thought I should at least mention it as an alternative." That's a good point. Roku has some mirroring capabilities in it as well. There's lots of DLNA capabilities out there. Other things do exist. I think we end up talking about Chromecast and Apple TV the most because those are the most pervasive ones.
Yeah. Hey, we also got an email, and this one actually started off as a text message from Baratunde Thurston. Baratunde, of course, the author of How to Be Black and, of course, frequent contributor to twit.tv. He finally has an actual house that he lives in and wants to, or I guess an apartment that he's in the same place, and wants to know what he should do for his setup. So I asked him to send in an email, and I'm going to do my best to read this correctly. He writes to us, "Dear Slayer of Chords, it is an honor to address you and your kin. Gratitude for considering my petition. I write you today because I've recently made the transition from what my friend Cameron Kozon calls being a gentleman hobo and what I call being residentially flexible to actually dwelling in a fixed address again. After 18 months of nomadic living, I'm homeful. I cut all my cords and I'm ready to restore a few, which is where you come in. Internet and video entertainment and beautiful sounds are all very important to me. I'm trying to optimize my home setup and have outlined the following needs for my 3-room, 4th floor Brooklyn apartment. The entertainment center will be in a living room that's 17 and a half feet by 14 and a half feet. Which I love the specifics that he's given us on all this. TV hardware. He wants to replace his 47-inch TV with a bigger one, 65, maybe 70 inches if there's some crazy discount. He needs a sharp image. He doesn't care how much fake 3D nonsense it comes with. He doesn't want the TV to be smart. In other words, he seems to subscribe to my theory that he only wants it to display images prettily. He says he'll have HDMI inputs from Apple TV, Time Warner Cable, and Xbox One. He'll use one optical sound out to a Sonos Play Bar to drive sound through the home. And he says that he uses Netflix, iTunes, Time Warner Cable, Amazon, Hulu Plus, Aereo, and he admits that the Aereo is just so he can be awesome like other people, even though he'll never use it, and maybe a personal media server. His biggest question is, what TV should he buy? There's so much stuff coming out all the time, and he doesn't know how much of it really has anything to do with what he cares about. He assumes that it'll be LED, he said LED. Do you think he means LCD or?
No, he probably means an LED.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
But he'd also consider plasma. Living room has no direct sun where he'd like to mount the TV. Let's see, whether to route the cable box through the Xbox One and use it as his media center. Let's start with that one, Tom. Is that something you would do?
What? Which part? The Xbox Media
Yeah,
Center?
the very last one, because I know that you're dealing with that
Oh
right now.
yes, absolutely. Don't even worry about hooking it up with your cable guide if you're worried about that. Like, I don't want to have cable, so I don't want to hook it up with my cable guide. Whether you do or don't, I find immaterial. What's amazing with the Xbox One is having that TV app, so you can just be watching TV and seamlessly go to the Xbox when you want to play a game or use Netflix or anything like that. It is honestly. If you've already got an Xbox One, I'm not sure it's something that make you buy an Xbox One, but if you've already got an Xbox One, no matter where you live in the world, put your main TV feed through that port, because it just makes it easier to flip back and forth between things. I'd also say, if he can afford it, Panasonic Plasmas are the way to go. I've got a Panasonic Plasma. I've had it for years. It's amazing. CNET still gives them 4 and 5 stars. They are a tiny bit pricier, but you could actually get a 60-inch Panasonic TCPS60 for $830. So it's not the craziest, most expensive thing in the world.
Yeah, real quick, people are pointing out in the chat that he wasn't talking about OLED. When he said LED screens, I believe it is liquid crystal. It's just backlit by LEDs instead of by a fluorescent display on there. He appears to. Oh, go ahead, Tom. Sorry, Derek.
Yeah, I was gonna say, he said that he is in a room that has no sunlight. I was like, has he considered about a projection, like the Epson projectors? Those are pretty good.
Well, it says
if he's
here
got a nice blank wall, if he could just do that.
He like in the summary, he says, "I'm in the market for a badass TV and figure I should go big because, like RAM, you could never have enough." So
Projector
in that regard,
will make it as big as he wants.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Although,
my friend has one, and it's fantastic. That's how we watched House of Cards. Actually, it was like on 100-inch screen at that point. And at night, it's fantastic. But during the day, in the sunlight, it's a little diffused.
Now
but
here's
if he has a room that doesn't have direct sunlight, then that might be something worth exploring.
Yeah, he also says, I can't spend more than $1,500 on the screen, and even then that's pushing it. So, of course, if you make a projector your primary display, you do have the cost of a couple $100 every year to update the bulb when that goes out, which is a pain in the butt. But
yeah, it's about $350.
Yeah, I mean, and again, although if you don't mind on the quality, I don't know. Like I've oftentimes had the bulbs go out in projectors because I use them in my stage shows, and it's just cheaper to buy just a refurbished other projector instead of bothering. Like that's 2/3 of the cost handled right there. I don't know.
Right.
Well, I don't know what kind of projectors you use, but I think when you're getting like an actual television projector, they may be a little different than those models. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
You know what you should do? Watch Home Theater Geeks with Scott Wilkinson.
But I'll tell you what, I do want to open things up. If you guys have listened to Baratunde's issues and you have a specific solution, why don't you write us at cordkillers@gmail.com, and we'll make sure to continue to take care of Baratunde moving forward.
All right, well, that wraps it up for Cordkillers for today. Hey, Derek Hughes, man, sorry about the confusion on the dates. Totally our fault for not being clear. Thank you for hustling and getting over here. It was awesome of you.
Oh, no, thank you so much. Again, I apologize that if I had known exactly the time, I would have been on a lot earlier.
No apology necessary.
But
I'm a big fan of your work on Warehouse 13. Derek also writes for Afterworld. Anything else going on you want to let folks know about before we get out of here?
Yeah, Warehouse 13, we finally have an official start date for the 5th and final season, which will be April 14th. At
Derek,
9
I want you to know that right now here in studio, as you said that, I saw Zach full on like do a fist pump, like yes, as you were giving that information. So thank you.
Yeah. So the final 6 episodes will be airing, and then after that, well, that's it.
I know, I'm sad about that, but I'm glad it's coming back.
My writing partner and I, we are working on a couple other things that we started doing at the end of the year, and hopefully hope to make an announcement sometime in the spring for some big fun stuff. So
awesome, man.
In the meantime, just follow me on Twitter, and if I have anything fun to update or anything like that, then that's where it'll be announced.
And what is it on Twitter?
At DBlackanese.
Black. All right, you got to spell that.
Blackanese, because I'm half black, half Japanese. So
there it is. Look, I just typed in. Actually, I just typed in the word I wrote D Blackanese, but then it asked, "Did you mean Blackanese?" like as if I had made a mistake, and then it gave me your Twitter as the first response.
Yes, D Blackanese. That's it.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much. Don't forget, folks, Cordkillers.com to find ways to subscribe to the show. You can also follow us on the internets as well on Twitter at Cordkillers. And if you are a Patreon subscriber, thank you so much. Spoiler in time will be coming shortly. We'll be talking about House of Cards.